everybody. Hola a todos. Bienvenidos to La Hora del Mitote. La Hora del Mitote is Teatro Vision's live stream conversation series. We stream right here on Facebook and YouTube Live. Hi also to everybody who's watching the recording. But we're really excited to chat with you all today. We invite you to participate throughout this conversation by sending us your questions and your comments. We'll be able to show them up on the screen. We already have a lot of really enthusiastic comments for our wonderful guest, Marisa. Here's just some of them. You're getting lots of love.
Hi, Alex.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jacob. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm Teatro Vision's Community Engagement and Marketing Manager. And I have the pleasure and honor of chatting today with Marisa Torres, who has been a teatrista with Teatro Vision for much longer than I have and has a long, illustrious career with us. We're here to talk about her past with teatro and how that's inspired her creativity and her other pursuits. And we'll give you some exciting previews for some of her work coming up soon. Thank you for joining me, Marisa. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to start here? Let me really quick before we jump in. You have some other fans in the chat. Isabel. Alex threw another enthusiastic comment. Hi, Alex. Marisa, do you want to get us started by telling us a little bit about your history with teatro? I know I worked with you on Macario last year. You were a props designer and you performed a little bit. But I know your career started much way back before then. So want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I started with Teatro Vision, working with them in 2018 with the House on Mango Street, and I took their first youth theater classes. But I've also been a fan since about 2016, I think. I have a family member that is an actress here, the lovely Carolina Perez. And I went to go see her in Macario one year, and I instantly fell in love and eventually got brave enough to join the classes. And from there, I was in the House on Mango Street. I was in Macario, La Muerte Baila, De Partera, behind the scenes. Over the summer, I helped with Raíces. I've been a part of almost every production up until, I want to say, the most recent Macario. So this is the first year that I haven't done anything with Teatro Vision until now. I'm a vendor. And yeah.
That's super cool. I love hearing that you were pretty much a part of every show for like 5 straight years of Teatro's history. That's really exciting. You mentioned being kind of your first foray into teatro was taking art classes. That's something we love to promote here on La Hora del Mitote. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about your experience with those, who you took classes with, what those were like?
Yeah. So I was a really shy child, and I had done theater with another company, and I heard about these classes, and I was at first really scared to take them. But I had a friend who was also going to take them. We went to the same school, and as the teacher was also someone who worked at my school. So I took the leap of faith and joined these classes, and they were super fun. I got to meet a lot of different people who I felt an instant connection with that I had never felt anywhere else. And it was just a place where I felt like really safe to just kind of be silly and kind of just explore creativity. And then that, in turn, went into the auditions for House on Mango Street, and they help you prepare for those auditions. So they give you like a little monologue, and you practice them towards the end of the class, and that leads into the auditions, which was honestly super, super helpful for me. And also getting that encouragement really helped.
That's awesome. I love what you said about kind of the classes and teatro being a safe space to be silly, and I think you made friends really quickly. I find that to be true for working in theater with people all the time. Like I felt like, especially on our time together on Macario, like because we're like working together so intensely for a period of time, like you get to know each other on a deeper and different level, which is really exciting. Then, so after you took those classes, you jumped to House on Mango Street, which was your first. I guess that wasn't your first time being on stage. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was different from other times being on stage, and maybe a little bit about your early production of Aladdin?
Yeah, for sure. So in middle school, I used to do theater with both my school and another outside children's youth company. And I've always felt like a disconnect with there. There's a lot of kids, and it's sometimes people will use it as kind of like a babysitting service. So it's kind of like not everybody wants to be there. And so it's like a whole mismatch of a bunch of different personalities coming together. And on top of that, it's kind of hard to keep track and meet all of the kids. So I always kind of felt like I'm not really a part of things. I remember like when I went to teatro, I was like super surprised. It was such a culture shock that people knew who I was or knew my name, because like up until then, I had never thought that anybody would remember who I was, or that we had, even if we had worked on 2 shows together, I didn't think they would know who I was. But there were people at teatro who like I had never even met before. And I like when I walked in the first audition for Macari or for the House on Mango Street, they were all like Marisa, and I was like, I don't know who you are, but you know who I am, and that's crazy. So the difference was really immense, other than like the cultural difference of like the actual stories being told. There's the regular children's musical theater, which is like Singing in the Rain, Wizard of Oz, those kinds of shows, versus the shows that we make. You feel a lot more of a personal connection to them. And so I felt a lot more connected, not just through the stories, but like with the people and with the staff.
That's really wonderful. And in the House on Mango Street, just because I'm sure some of the people watching are familiar with the story, who'd you play?
I played so many things. My main role was Carlos, which is Esperanza's brother, one of the main family members. And then I was also Marin, and like old lady, old man, random kid on the block who shouts, "Ladies, lead me to heaven," and like a bunch of other characters. I had like 9 or something different costumes.
That's big for your first time being involved in teatro. They really threw you in the deep end. That's really awesome. But then after that, you jumped over to, would it have been Macario after that, de Partera?
I think it was de Partera. Yeah.
Nice. And I wasn't able to pull up any photos of that one, but it looked like you were kind of in the ensemble of that production.
Yeah. So for that show, I was deck crew, and then I was also put in a few scenes just because.
So that was your first time like working backstage then, right?
For Teatro Visión, yes.
For teatro.
Yeah.
Totally. What was different for you about like working backstage versus being on stage? Because I know you've kept doing that since then.
Yeah. It's a different experience. I think they're both equally as fun. They can both be equally as stressful, but I think, I don't know, it's hard to explain the differences. It's mostly you have to keep track of a lot of different things, and it's a lot of work before and after the show. Like when you act, you get on the stage, you get ready, you get on the stage, and you can kind of go home. You just change, you go home. But when you're backstage, you have to keep track of, okay, what goes where? Did we lose any props? Do we have to fix any props? If you did lose it, where did it go? And so it's a lot of like lists and keeping track of things versus having to like memorize your lines and like kind of get immersed in the story. It's definitely more like methodical.
Yeah, you have to be organized in a different kind of way versus like knowing all your lines compared to keeping track of all the logistics backstage. Like 2 different skill sets, and it's awesome that you have both of them and we're able to cultivate them both. Speaking of props and having to fix props and that kind of thing, I know you've done some props design with Teatro Visión before, and it sounds like the first time was back when we did La Muerte Baila in 2020.
I think so, yeah. I think that was my first props job for this company.
How'd you get roped into that?
Honestly, I asked. I had always been interested in props. My first prop job ever was, I think, in 8th grade for a different company. I had asked think the director was just like, does anybody have Halloween decorations? And I was like, I do. I have a ton. So I would bring in things like, oh, does this work? Does this work? And I'd get really excited about it. And so she made me the honorary props master. And the first prop I had ever made was this book that had Ye Olde's fairy tale book on it. And it was just with marker. And from then on, I kind of would just ask, like, do you need anything? Can I? And then in high school, I learned that it was like an actual job that you could have. And so I asked if, like, hey, can I be the props master? So my first show with them was Music Man, where I was just kind of shadowing the props master before me. And I was just, doing the list, keeping track of stuff. The next year we did Matilda, and I actually got to make stuff. And so I've always kind of like slowly would start making more and more. And then I started getting like designs in my head, and I would write them down, I'd draw them, and I'd want to make them real. And so when La Muerte Baila came up, I was like, can I please do props? And yeah, that's how it happened.
That's really beautiful. We have a lot of people sounding off in the chat. One person wants to know, Isabel wants to know about what kinds of props you've made. You answered a little bit, but do you want to go more in depth about what some of the props you've made have been like?
Usually I make hand props. There are tons of different kinds of props. There's, of course, like the set props, hand props, food props. Mostly I make hands held stuff. I've done like a kaleidoscope, pan dulce, like just like little things that people hold. I did a little concessions box for La Muerte Baila the last time we did it. I've also done like stuff for sets. So I've made these like foam blocks for Matilda. I've done weapons. I've done just a bunch of like, oh, and then of course the most recent one, I did a puppet, which was like my biggest project. I've done 2 puppets like in my entire art journey. The first one was an alebrije, a Dante puppet. If you've seen Coco, the little dog. I was going to a costume contest, and I am very extra. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make a puppet. And didn't know what I was doing. I'm very stubborn, so I don't go and take classes. I just figure it out. And so I made a Dante marionette puppet. And then for Macario, I really wanted to make this big skeleton puppet that was like coming out of the calipers. And so I ended up doing this one, as you can see. That's the progress photo. That skull I actually stole from my school. Sorry, CSUMB. It was outside the art building, and it had been collecting dust. And well, technically I didn't steal it. I asked my roommate Brooke to steal it for me, so thank you, Brooke. And yeah, that's the story of that.
And here's the finished product. Is that you wearing it in the background?
That is. So it's a little short because I'm short, but
that looks awesome. You can see Balu as Macario is terrified to look at you. So I think it's effective. That's really awesome. Somebody asked in the chat what your favorite prop has been to make. Would you say it's that one? Was it a different one?
I wouldn't say it's the puppet. As cool as it looks in the end, I was so stressed making that one. I think my favorite one has to be the mouse from Becoming Mar. I made a little mouse, alebrije, and it like would scurry across the stage on wheels, and it was one of my favorites to make. It was really fun.
I'd love to see it. That sounds really cute. Speaking of Becoming Mad, some people in the chat are reminding us not to forget about the other shows you've been involved in. Want to give us a quick rundown of your involvement with Doodle Pequeño and Becoming Mad? And yeah. I have photos of both of those that maybe we could share.
Okay. So Doodle Pequeño was the second youth production that I did. It was my first time ever getting a lead role, which was really exciting. And it was really fun. It was just a one act of 45 minutes, but it was a really, really good show, and it was a really good experience. Learning about how to do like effects makeup and how to use like physicality in your character, and It was a real workout. Like my knees, I would come home and my knees were like completely bruised because I would have to be like in a goat position for hours and hours. And even with knee pads, I'd come home and they're like, why are your legs bruised up? And I was like, I had rehearsal.
Oh my gosh. Wow, the sacrifices we make for art, right?
Yes.
Speaking of your goat portrayal, here's a photo of that. Did you have special effects makeup on in this photo?
I did. This one I don't think I had like too much. But over time I ended up getting a little bit more. It was more around like my nose and then my eyelashes. And then those
Oh
horns
yeah.
are detachable. So sometimes they
Mm.
would fall off when they shouldn't have, because I would move my head a little too aggressively, and it would get a good laugh. So I consider that a win.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. And in Becoming Mud, you played also like, I mean, not the main role, but a pretty substantial role, right?
Yeah. Originally, I was just gonna do props, but the director had asked me to audition as well, and so I was Mama Lupe, the main character's grandmother. And I had never played an old lady, I don't think, before, so it was definitely a first for me. And it was very fun. I got to sing on stage, which I hadn't done for a long time since I like had done musical theater, so that was also very fun. And I also did a bunch of the props for that.
I watched Becoming Mud before had met you and just watched the video of it. And honestly, in that video, I remember I thought you were an adult simply playing an older woman. So you could have fooled me.
I actually had one of our actors' little siblings came up to me and she was like, "Are you a real old lady?" And she asked me like 2 times, 2 nights in a row. She asked me if I was a real old lady. The first time I said no. The second time I said yes. And she was like, "How old are you?" And I asked her, and she said, I think she said like 80 or something. I told her I was 100, and she was like, and I was like, "I'm just kidding. I'm 19."
You're just that convincing, Betty. So that's amazing. um, you shared this photo of the set from Becoming Mud with me. Did you help put this part together? Did you assemble this?
So I assembled it, but my wonderful mother actually made those flowers. She's very good at making paper flowers out of like construction paper, the cardstock, flour or corn husks. And so she helped me make all of those poppies, and we put little lights inside them that have like a little remote, so they would glow from the inside. And then I hot glued them onto the sticks.
That's really cool. Would you say you get like does any of your creative inspiration or your I know you make a lot of your own kind of you make props, you make your own artesanías. Does that come from your mom at all?
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
for
realize
sure. Yeah, she's a really creative person, always making like little crafts for her students or putting stuff up in her classroom. She's a great party planner. She always like we have a whole place in our garage, like a shelves just full of party stuff. And someone's like, "I need a party," and she's like, "Yeah, I got stuff," and like can pull something together super quick. So definitely my creative and um my resourcefulness comes from her.
that's amazing. Are you stockpiling your own party supplies in your dorm room as we speak?
I maybe not party supplies, but I do have a pile of trash that I swear I'm gonna use for props.
That's fantastic. That's about the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, one last question in the chat. Somebody loves the goat. Was that your favorite costume? Do you have another favorite costume?
Mm. It is a fun costume, but it was really hot. I think my favorite costume was either Carlos from House on Mango Street or the messenger from Macario. It was literally one scene, but it was such a fun costume. Yeah.
I have it right
my,
here.
my little colonial fit.
Yes, that was a really good costume and a lot of detail for the one scene you were in.
Yeah, for like the 0.2 seconds.
What was the costume for Carlos?
It was it was a shirt, a blue shirt. It was like blue stripes, orange stripes, and white stripes, and like the tiny stripes going across. And then it was this orange hat. It was like a snapback hat, and the bottom of it was green. and then it was like these loose jeans that were cuffed and high top PF flyers, and I felt so cool in that costume.
I want that costume. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really quick, everybody, we're going to take one quick break. I just want to thank everybody who's connected to La Hora del Mitote. We're going to keep talking for a little while longer, but we want to invite you all to participate by sending us your questions and your comments. We'll read them out like we have been. Thank you, especially to Isabel, for all your questions. Keep them coming. Muchas gracias a las personas que se acaban de conectar esta noche a La Hora del Mitote. Los invitamos a participar en esta plática mandándonos sus preguntas, sus comentarios. Los leeremos con gusto aquí en esta conversación. And I just want to remind everybody, Marisa has talked a little bit about our past productions. We currently have tickets on sale for our upcoming production of La Muerte Baila, which is our Dia de los Muertos production. The tickets are on sale at teatrovision.org. They're $10 to $40. You can choose your own price, whatever works for you. Performances are just 2 weeks away. They're October 12th through the 22nd at the Mexican Heritage Plaza. Marisa was involved in our past production, and she's been super excited for this one, so we hope you'll join us as well. Speaking of which, Marisa, can you tell us a little bit about, just because I'm promoting La Muerte Baila, what's got you so excited about this show, and what you were telling me that you were really excited to get to participate back in 2020.
Yeah. So I have always been such a big fan of the show. I saw the first one. I was actually, Caro asked me to join that show, but I was way too shy. She had told me about it too. She's like, it's from the perspective of the muertos, and like it's gonna be super cool, and you should audition. And I was like, okay, no, thank you. I was too shy, and I regret it to this day. But I went to go see it, and it was like it blew my mind. I was raving about it like all the way home, but it's a show that made me laugh so hard. There's so much character interaction, and there's so much audience participation, which is something that I get really excited about in theater. It just makes you feel like more like a part of things, and at the very end, it like hits you in the gut with emotion. And I won't spoil anything, but there's something that they do at the very end that just gets me every single time. Like no matter, even in the show, if the recording ever surfaces, you can hear someone gasp for air, and that was me unintentionally gasping because I was crying at the end of the show. And it's just it's a show that is so near and dear to my heart. Yeah.
I couldn't say it better. I think I've gotten to read it. I've seen the old productions. These are some photos from back in 2017, the production you were talking about. And it really is just such a funny and heartwarming story. It's a story about forgiveness and choosing how we live our lives. And yeah, I really love the audience participation elements too. Like I always feel like it can be a little bit tough. Like sometimes you hear audience participation, you're like, oh no, are they gonna like call me out? Is it gonna be stressful? But I think they do a really good job of making it really chill and enjoyable and meaningful. And Sergio, who does a lot of the audience interaction, is hilarious, and you're gonna want to talk back to him.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that. We have one more question from Alice about what characters you'd like to play in future productions. And I also wanted to know a little bit about, like, do you see yourself acting a bit more? Do you see yourself doing more props? Mm-hmm. How do you want to keep being involved in theater and in teatro?
Yeah, so I've never been the kind of person to like have dream roles. I had maybe like one or two when I was a kid, but like I don't know. I'm the kind of person that's like, I'm just gonna see what I get, and then because also sometimes I'm just like I don't read it ahead of time, so I'm like I don't know the story, just give me something. But I do have one dream role, and it is from La Muerte Baila. I would love to play Alejandro. I think he's such a good role, and I typically get the like either comedic characters or motherly kind of characters. So I think I really want to try something like funny but also serious. So Alejandro, I really want to one day.
I could really see you doing well with that because, like you were talking about, like the physicality in Doodle Pequeño, and like Alejandro is such a comedic role. I think you
Yeah,
could fit him really well. I'll
thank
put
you.
in a word. Hopefully, Rodrigo's watching tonight.
I know Rodrigo just.
Otherwise, otherwise, I'll send him an email.
And as for like future in teatro, I honestly I miss it so much. I was talking to my friends about this the other day that I teatro is like really my creative outlet, and it makes me feel so good. Like that moment when you're on stage and you take your bow and you get to say hi to everyone after or congratulate everyone after. Um, it's just there's not a feeling like it, and so I never really planned to stop doing teatro, and the reason I did have to was because of school, because it was becoming really difficult to balance school life, home life, and teatro. Um, so as reluctant as I was to not continue, I had to take that choice. However, the moment that I graduate, I am gonna be. I think Macari will be happening again, so I will be first to audition. I'm very excited. I see myself acting more, as well as any job really that I can get. Props is definitely something that I will want to always continue. But anything that's open, whether it be like fly op, deck crew, ASM, I'm down for it all. Except for sound. I'm not good at sound.
Well, we can't wait to welcome you back with open arms. We're excited. And we're really excited that you're going to get to participate in a different way at La Muerte Baila this year. For everybody who's watching, Marisa is going to be one of our lobby vendors. One of the things we love to do at Teatro Visión performances, and especially as we've been back in person since the pandemic, is have vendors selling kind of some people sell artesanía. We had some folks selling some like chocolates and coffee from Mexico last spring. But it really creates a really wonderful kind of celebratory atmosphere in the lobby before and after the show. And it's also gives you something to do while you're hanging around waiting for the show to start and an intermission. And Marisa is going to join us and be one of our vendors, which is super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, Marisa? And I'll let you say the name and what kinds of things what kinds of things you've been making.
Yeah, so I started a little business called Arte Mambo, and I make sculptures and earrings and bags, just kind of like little accessories. It started in like 2020 when everybody was in lockdown and bored, and there was a trend of people just like painting on everything. Like I would paint my calculator or my phone case, and that eventually turned into making polymer clay earrings. The first earring I ever made was for my mom. I think it was either her birthday or Mother's Day. And they're super like clunky cempasúchil flower earrings. They're very big. But ever since then, I just kind of like started practicing more and more. And I didn't start selling art until I think the second de partera. I wasn't officially involved with like crew or cast, but I would come in on the weekends and I would just help with whatever needed to be helped with. I would sub in for reading the script or helping move things around, or I was just there being a metiche. So eventually people were asking about the earrings and the art and stuff. So I would bring them in during rehearsal, and after rehearsal, some of my castmates would come and they would buy stuff from me. And then the first time I ever like sold officially as Arte Mambo was this summer, June 5th, I think. I worked for an elementary school, and they had a festival, like an arts festival. And when they heard that I did art, they asked if I wanted to have a spot as a vendor. And since I volunteered with them, it was going to be a free spot, and it was just like a perfect opportunity. And so that was the first time I ever sold anything. And I do have stuff around here. Here's like some sculptures I made, a saguaro with a skeleton. Um, I have a nopal, smaller nopal, and they're all very inspired by like the alebrije art style. I love everything about alebrijes. I know a lot about them. We have a pan de muerto. And this is a wall decor, so you can put like nails in there and hang it up on your wall. I have some bags. This is one of my favorite alebrijes is the rabbit. And I have some ladybugs as it's kind of like the logo for my business. This is kind of like my logo. And there's actually a reason behind that. Ladybugs always remind me of my mom, and that is because when I was born, she gave me the nickname Mariquita, and so ladybugs have always kind of been like a symbol of our relationship. So yeah, ladybugs. And I think,
I love the like detailed artwork or painting on those mariquitas. They're really cute.
Thank you. And I have some sugar skull earrings, and they're all different. I have some pan dulces. I have like the puerco right here, the nopales, which I'm wearing right now. I have these like orejas de elefante. The conchas are always my most popular item, of course. It's a staple. We have some polvorones, some cuernitos, and we have the little rueditas or the chicharrones, whatever you call them in your house. And yeah.
I have my little calavera that you made for Marisa made a bunch of these for the cast and crew. If I can get this to point towards the camera, of Macario, and I've had it up on my little windowsill ever since then. It's really cute.
I've made for Macario and for the partera. I think the second de partera, when I went to go see them, I cracked out like 40 sugar skulls in like 2 weeks, and I had just been moved from my dorm. There was like a plumbing issue, so they're like, you gotta go to this dorm. And so we had moved everything, and I had like tons of calaveras all over my desk. Like I have a bunch. My desk is a mess right now, but like I have a bunch of these just all over my desk, and I cracked out like 40, each different, each custom, and I brought them for the cast of the partera too.
I think I have a photo of your process in here somewhere. The process of making all these. Oh gosh. Oh, here's the booth, and you can see the wide variety of the ones Marisa makes. Here's some more of those.
And that was the de partera one. That's what my desk looked like for like 2 weeks.
The desk of a creative soul.
Yeah. Should have seen my hand. It was like covered in paint.
Oh. Now, are these photos from the booth that you had at the school?
Yes.
As you can see, Marisa's going to have a whole lot of different exciting things that you can check out. I really love these like bags with these artwork. Is that kind of what the screen printing that's in some of these photos as well?
Some of them. Those are the hand-drawn ones of different alebrijes. And the ones that have the rabbit on them and the colibris on them, like the small one, those are the printed ones.
They're wonderful. I'm going to check our comments because we've got a lot of people sounding out. You have a fan who wants to place a big order. Thank you. This Lulu's reminding us that you made personalized figurines for Becoming Mod.
Yeah.
Did you make some for all the cast members?
Oh yes, I did make them for all the cast members. I think I did it overnight. Yeah, I think it was like one night I made little personalized figures for each character because each character was a different animal or had like a different like symbol that represents their character. So I made them each their little keychain.
That's really awesome. You mentioned just now that alebrijes have a really special importance to you, and they feature a lot in the art that you make. Do you want to talk a little bit about that meaning and how that it seems like that's like a thread that's running through all the things that you make?
Yeah. So I don't know why I've always been drawn to alebrijes, just the colors, the symbols, and I've always been a person who loves symbolism. When I was a kid, anybody who knows me knows that I would talk on and on and on about symbolism and how everything has a meaning, and especially with animals. And so I loved learning about, this Oaxacan art style. And I have like a ton just on my desk right now. I always get from like a specific store here in Monterey called Cultura Arts. They're very amazing, but I have like tons of like I have so many. Every time I go there, I buy another one, and they even have like earrings. If you've seen me wear any Aleveje earrings, probably from that store. But like learning about the process of how they make them, learning about how you have to grow the copal tree and it has to be a copal tree and you have to cut it down at a specific time because the wood is malleable when it's young. So then someone cuts down the wood. So someone grows it, someone cuts down the wood, someone carves it out, and then someone makes the paint, and another person paints it. So it's like a whole community has to come together to make one tiny thing. And it's, I don't know, that already in itself is really beautiful to me, as well as the symbols on the animals themselves, like the dots meaning maize, some of them meaning like how life goes in a circle, or mountain, pueblo, people, community. Like they all have different symbols, and even the animals themselves have different symbols. Like the rabbit represents creativity, and the armadillo represents stubbornness, and like all of that stuff is just, I love it.
I can see how like parallels in what you're talking about to theater too. Like that's also something that, you know, in theater everything has a little symbol, everything has a lot of meaning, and theater, like a work for the stage, is also something that like takes everybody working together, a whole community, to create like the sets, the props, the costumes, the lights, the act. Everybody kind of comes together to create this thing that we share with the world. So it seems like there's a common theme to the kind of art that you're drawn to.
Yeah.
I want to throw out some of the comments that people are saying. Hi, Caro. Hi, Juan. Hi, Ruben. Thank you to everybody who's commenting. This is one of our most popular episodes of La Muerte Baila in a long time. We're bringing the people out, Marisa.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Hi, Nicole. Let me see. I want to let everybody know about the times you can meet Marisa at La Muerte Baila. She's going to be a vendor at the performances of the show, and she'll be there Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And our performances are Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m. Marisa, you let me know that you're creating some custom works for La Muerte Baila, inspired by the characters and the themes of the show and that kind of thing. What kinds of things can people expect that they haven't gotten to see yet tonight?
Yeah, so I'm making a set of, I think, 7 stickers, and they're all based on each character in the show. Like I mentioned before, I am a huge nerd. As on top of being a person who acts in these shows and works on these shows, I am a huge nerd. I love these shows. I am a super fan of Teatro Visión shows. I love them. So I really wanted to make something out of like fan art, because when I go to shows, I love buying merch. I want to represent the show that I watch, and I just thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to have something for each of the characters? And I think Teatro Alebrijes did something similar where they had their stickers of all the Carlota characters, and I thought that was so smart. So I immediately was like, I need to do that. And so I'm not really a digital artist, and I'm not like the best at drawing, but I'm working on it. And this is like my second project in digital art, and I'm really proud of how they came out. And I'm really excited for everybody to get these stickers. It's each character, and it has a saying or a word that relates to that character, and every single one is directly from the script of the show.
That's really beautiful. I can't wait to buy my La Muerte Baila stickers. That's really exciting. You work in so many different mediums. Like you make stickers, you do prints, you make physical alebrijes, you make puppets. Do you have like a favorite medium, or like are there any that really spark your creativity? Any ways you really like to work?
Yeah, I think polymer clay has to be my favorite to work with. Definitely sculpting has been my favorite. As much as I want to like sit and draw a lot or sit and paint, I can't. It's like my brain is like it's not exciting enough. I need it to be 3D. So I sometimes I'll sit down and I'll grab, this is the clay that I use. It's super sculpey. And I will just kind of like, can I make this? And I'll be like, no, I can't do it. So I'll just sit and like not take it seriously. And then I'll make something that I'm like really proud of. I'm like, oh, okay, I can. But I love mixed media, just finding like a bunch of stuff and putting it all together. I make these like record sculptures where I'll take an old used up scratched, so it's not a new vinyl, but like a 50-cent vinyl, and I'll like paint on it, or I'll make a design of like a character or a band or something, and I'll like put a sculpture, like I'll put clay on top of it, and it's like a 3D sculpture. And I've made a few of those for like family members and friends, and I think those are my favorite.
Those sound really cool, and like since you're talking about fan art, like a really cool way to like honor the artist that you like. I'm sure those sound really special, and I'm sure people really appreciate them. Um, is there anything, like you said, you'll like sit down with clay and like just kind of see what happens? Is there anything that's you've made that really surprised you or that like unlocked something for you?
I think honestly, this like saguaro sculpture, I did not think I could do that. It's like my most complicated piece. Not necessarily the saguaro, but the skeleton. As well as I made a sculpture of a Splatoon character for one of my friends. And it is the first time I had done something like full body with like a dynamic pose. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. Like, I kind of like doing this.
I'm sure people are wondering, like, what's your process for making these? Like, do you like have to? I'm not super familiar with polymer clay. Do you like plan things out in advance? Do you like just kind of sculpt and see how things go? Do you have to like make the head and certain parts first?
So
And
usually, like, if I make something, I don't go in with a plan. I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm obsessed with this cartoon or I'm obsessed with this game. I'm gonna like while I'm watching something, I'm gonna see if I can sculpt the head. It usually starts at the head because that's the most exciting part. Um, but like if I'll like sculpt like a ball and then you add another piece of clay on top of it and then you'll smooth it down with like a tool. Um, and if it's like more planned out, because sometimes you have to just kind of wing it because you're like, oh, I should have done this, but I kind of rushed into it. Um, Usually you'll start with like a wire armature or like tinfoil. So you'll like make a body with wire and you'll tape it and you'll put tinfoil on it so that it's like you just put clay on top of it. Because otherwise it's like less stable and it can crack more and it's harder to work with. So if I do plan things out, I will start with wire and tinfoil, and then I'll put clay on top. That's how I did this. This whole cactus is made of tinfoil as well as this bottom part. And in here, there's also tinfoil. The arms have wire in them, so the arms are just big wires. The skull has nothing in it. It's just clay. Because again, I start with the head and I don't think things through. But yeah, and then once you have your sculpture, you bake it in the oven at 275 degrees for 15 minutes. And the cool thing about polymer clay is that it doesn't burn. So if something cracks or if you need to add more, you can always rebake it and it won't burn. So you can just keep adding on to it and adding on to it. And especially for big sculptures, this is helpful. And then after that, you just paint it and that's it.
that's really cool. That's a really cool process. How are you totally self-taught? Did you learn from your mom? Did you learn online? How did this happen?
I'm completely self-taught. I'm very stubborn. I've had so many people, especially my family, tell me, have you taken art classes? You should take art classes. You should go to school for art. And I'm like, no, I don't like being told what to do. And I'm too insecure for people to be like, oh, that's weird. So I do things on my own. I don't want to be told that I'm wrong. So I will, as not great as that is, it makes me kind of like look into things on my own. Sometimes I'll do research. Sometimes it's like too overwhelming. So I'm just like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. But yeah, that's pretty much how I do things. I just kind of jump into it and figure it out.
That's really cool. And I'm sure you have like a process of trial and error, especially when you decide to figure it out on your own. Like things work out and they don't, and eventually you end up with a really cool pieces like the ones you've come up with. Lulu's reminding us that you made mini her and you sculptures.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Mom. I made, like she said, I made little versions of myself, and I made one for her birthday. And that was the first time I had ever done like just static pose, but actual full body sculpture. And it was really hard, but it was really fun.
That's reminding us refrains number to determined.
I can be both.
You have a lot of strong supporters in the chat today. It sounds like you make a lot of these pieces for as gifts and for in-person vendors and that kind of thing. Do you ever think, and you have an Instagram account, which actually I should have been promoting this whole time. Everybody can follow Marisa on Instagram at Arte Mambo to see more of her work. Do you ever think about starting like an online store or taking commissions and that kind of thing? Or do you want to keep this kind of more as a hobby?
I definitely do want to start with like an online store. I'm currently in the making of a store. I just need to take pictures of my product, but I haven't had product for a little bit. So now that I have it, I'm going to be taking some pictures. So that will be in the works coming soon. But I also do accept commissions. Like if you see me in person, you can always come and talk to me and we can work something out. Or on Instagram, if you want to send me a DM, we can always talk about commissions.
That's fantastic. When you visit Marisa at her booth at La Muerte Baila, I'm sure she's going to be in high demand. So start prepping your commission plans already. This is really wonderful, Marisa. What have you been up to these days since you've been away from teatro? It sounds like things have been keeping you too busy to make too many supplies. What's going on in your life that people might want to know about?
So currently I'm going to school at CSUMB and I am a communications major. I recently transferred from marine science to communications because I did not really want to go into research. I enjoyed more of the talking to people, the stuff like this where I'm info dumping about something I'm passionate about. That's more of what I enjoy. I also last year was at an elementary school for my service learning site, and I was helping teach folklorico and visual arts for a little bit, as well as volunteering at the aquarium. I've been with the Monterey Bay Aquarium for a few months now, and I'm a volunteer guide. So I work at, the touch pools, I work around a bunch of different places, and I get to talk to people about the animals and get to help people, learn about starfish and sea urchins and isopods and all this other stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really exciting. Everybody head on over to the Monterey Bay Aquarium and get a tour from Marisa.
Every other Saturday until 1 p.m.
Every other Saturday till 1 p.m. You heard it here first. Someone wants to know about how you came up with the name for, I'm guessing this means for Arte Mambo.
Yeah. So Arte Mambo came from my mom. However, the name Mambo came from my dad. So as a kid, I used to listen to this song, Mambo Italiano, all the time. Don't know why, just loved it. It was a great song. One of those songs that would just like calm me down. And I would listen to it on loop, like all the time. And my dad would play it for me. So he began to call me Mambo. And so it's just been a name that he's always referred to me as. And when I was making an Instagram account, it originally started off as just like an art portfolio. I had never really intended to sell anything. It was just so that I can have all my art in one place. And I couldn't come up with a name, and you need a username. So I was like, I don't know what to put it. And my mom and I were workshopping names, and she was like, Arte Mambo. And I was like, that sounds good. It just kind of stuck. So, yeah.
That's perfect. What a good story. It has a really nice rhythm to it, Arte Mambo. And I don't have your logo up here, but it makes for a really good logo. Cristal, our board president, says hi, says you're the best.
Hi. I love
um,
you.
we're getting close to the end of our time, Marisa. Do you I just wanted to ask, is there like a key memory for you of your time with Teatro Visión? Is there like a favorite production and something that stands out for you as a something that really has sparked your creativity?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's really hard to choose a specific memory or even a specific show, but I think just generally, I really enjoy like warm ups that we do. Like any physicality warm ups are super fun, and singing rehearsals are also really fun. I don't know. Just hearing everything come together and the musicians, especially when the musicians that are there, we have amazing musicians work with us, and Russell makes the best music. So it's always such a good feeling to hear everything come together. And also, as stressful as it is, first dress rehearsal always feels really good. Like even if it's a little shaky, it feels good to like that we got through the first step, and seeing everything come together is just so awesome.
Absolutely. Is there a first dress rehearsal that uh, or what was your first dress rehearsal like when you did Duo Pequeño and you first saw a play all come together like that? Does it stand out at all?
Um, oh, it was kind of long ago. I just remember, especially for like House on Mango Street, it was like really emotional because a lot of stuff happened during the production of the House on Mango Street. That we had a lot of ups and downs and some scares, and it was like really emotionally taxing, especially because of the material can get really deep, especially with like the red clown scene. There was a whole thing where we had discussed like cutting it because it was so heavy, but all of us decided that we wanted to go through with it to like show that this does happen in real life. And so the first dress rehearsal, I think all of us felt this like wave of relief that we got through it. And plus it was just really fun to just wear your costume and like see all the lights and see, hear the sounds and the music, and it felt really good.
Yeah, that's sounds really powerful, and I can feel it in your voice that that was a really meaningful experience. As one last thing, Marisa, for anybody who might be watching out there who's thinking about maybe wanting to get involved with theater or maybe wanting to get involved in creating artesanías and that kind of thing, how should they get started? What advice would you give them as they follow their passion?
Yeah. So I honestly go watch the shows. They're super fun. Interact with the actors. We all love talking about ourselves and our characters and our experience. As you can see, I'm here, so I love talking about my experience, um, as well as the staff members and how how these shows are created. And if you are contemplating, like if you're a youth or you have a child that wants to get into theater, start with those classes because, like I said, I was a super shy child. The first time I had ever auditioned for anything, I left the rehearsal or I left the audition, my legs were physically shaking. But by the time I got to those classes, my confidence, like it was so much more than it had ever been. And that was because of the community that Teatro Visión fosters. So start with the classes, and if you feel brave enough, audition for the show. And if you're an adult who wants to join teatro, that's completely fine. Even if you don't know, there's some people who are like, I don't know Spanish. I'm scared. I was like that, and I'm bilingual. I've spoken Spanish since I was a baby, and I was like, do I speak enough Spanish? It doesn't matter. You can speak not a lick of Spanish or not a lick of English, and still be able to have a really good experience, and a lot of support from people. And so, again, even if you're an adult, I know lots of adults who joined because they thought it was interesting or because they wanted to make friends or because of their own personal growth reasons. And they had a really great experience. So any way you can get involved, it's really.
I think you're totally right. And I think some of what you're alluding to is like Teatro Visión has a really welcoming community that no matter, what no matter your comfort level, no matter your past experience, like you'll be taken care of and welcomed with open arms. And I'm glad you found that here.
Thank you.
Well, to everybody who's tuned in for tonight, we've reached the end of this episode of La Hora del Mitote. Thank you so much, Marisa, for joining us. It's been so wonderful to chat. And thank you to everybody who's joined and commented. And just a reminder that if you want to check out Marisa's merchandise, La Muerte Baila runs at the Mexican Heritage Plaza October 12th through 22nd. Come on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday to check out Marisa's booth. You can find tickets and more info at teatrovision.org. And if you liked tonight's episode of La Hora del Mitote, we'll have another episode. You can watch previous episodes on YouTube and on Facebook in our archive. And we'll have one again next Friday, October 6th at 7 p.m. for a sneak peek behind the scenes. We're going to be in the rehearsal room of La Muerte Baila. We're going to be on stage chatting with the actors as they run off the stage. It'll be fun. It'll be really interactive. And we look forward to seeing all of you at La Muerte Baila at our next episode of La Hora del Mitote. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful night. I'm going to throw up the last couple wonderful comments. It's been great to chat, Marisa. Great to have everybody here. Have a nice evening.